Welcome to I'll Be There, the ultimate wedding podcast by Priya
and Nim
from Pristine Events. Whether you're a bride-to-be
or a groom gearing up
or just a wedding lover at heart, we've got you. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of I'll Be There. I'm Priya.
I'm Nim.
And today we've got a very special guest, the incredibly talented Mohsin Ali.
Thank you.
So Mohsin and I, we've worked together a few times in the last year, and every time we've worked together it's been amazing. I'd like to say obviously your work is incredible, but aside from your work, I think I always tell you this, but your positivity to be around is really infectious. And I think for any couples or suppliers, when you're working at weddings, if another supplier is bringing that genuine happiness and positivity, it just makes everything better. So I love working with you. We love working with you. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and we'll go from there.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. And honestly, I've been following the podcast that you've been doing, and you're doing an amazing job. So thank you for having me. It means a lot to me. And yeah, so like you've touched on it, I'm a wedding photographer, specialising in destination weddings now. I've been doing it for about 10 years now, so I've been through the mill a bit with over the time and see trends change over time. So yeah, that's kind of what I specialise in.
And you said you've been in it for 10 years, and I know me and you spoke about this about a month or so ago, but can you tell our millions of listeners how you actually got into wedding photography? Because 10 years to now establish yourself as such a sort of prominent name in the industry seems like actually quite a short time. So like, how did you do it in 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real journey. So the way that it all started for me, I kind of fell into photography. So I didn't have any interest in photography. Like, obviously I grew up with my granddad. He loved photography, and at that time it was very different to what it is now. So he used to create pictures on like slides from like holidays. And as I was growing up, I obviously had memories of this because, you know, as a family, we used to sit down and we used to get the slides out, put it in a projector and project it onto a wall. Like that is kind of what photography was back then. But generally, for me personally, I never had any interest in photography. And it was only until I got married, my mum bought me a camera for a wedding present. Yeah. And then since then, I went on honeymoon with my wife. We went to the Maldives and Egypt, and I literally fell in love with photography. And since that day I never put down a camera. I literally just like practiced and tried out different things, and it kind of just evolved from there. And at first I never envisaged myself being a wedding photographer. I just had a passion for photography at the time. So you kind of like posting at that time, it's like Facebook and like Instagram didn't exist back then, but it's mainly like Facebook, and you like post stuff online and people started seeing my work and they like kind of resonated with them. And then I mean, it started first. My cousin was getting married, and she like saw my work online, and it was just generally like landscape stuff and stuff from holidays and stuff, nothing like documentary or from weddings. And they really liked my kind of eye for detail that I had. And then from there, they basically asked me, do you want to photograph the wedding? I was like, what, weddings? I've got married myself, and like there's a lot of pressure to capture a wedding because obviously it's you only get one opportunity. But yeah, they were like, no, we trust you that you can do it. And I was like, okay, well, as long as there's a backup photographer there, just in case, I don't capture everything the first time, then I'm happy to do it. And so then I took the leap of faith and I captured their wedding. And as it turned out, they actually preferred my images over the actual professional images that they had. And it kind of just started from there and evolved from there. But yeah, thanks to my mum. Without her gifting me a camera, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So.
Isn't it crazy that those small little moments in life can change your whole course of life? Like, it's not like you asked for a camera, you went into photography at the time, she just got it as a nice wedding present, and then from there it's basically created your career. It's crazy.
Well, she bought you a video camera.
Videographer.
There's so many different things. Like drum set, you'd have been like, some decks. Who knows?
DJ Mohsin.
I'm a true believer of fate, and I believe everything that's meant to be for us is destined for us. So, this was meant to happen, and that was what unfolded and made it happen. So,
is she really proud?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she always following me all the time online and stuff, commenting on all my pictures and liking my.
That's really
She's
sweet.
Obviously my biggest fan and stuff. So no, I really appreciate that.
What about that cousin, the first one who booked you?
Yes.
Yeah. Still supporting you.
100%.
They take a bit of credit for it. They've been like,
well, for her, that compared to what I charge and stuff now, is a bargain for her, right? So she got free wedding photography. But obviously, I look back at my work then compared to what it is now. Obviously, it's been a massive journey for me, and you kind of evolve over time. But at that time, I was very proud of what I delivered for her. So she was happy. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And then as soon as I guess she booked you, did you then intentionally position yourself as a wedding photographer, or were you still open to doing other types of photography, whether that be fashion, landscape?
So at that time, like, I had a big interest in cars. So I used to go to a lot of car shows and do a lot of photography of cars, and I didn't, even at that point, like, I delivered these images and I posted some on my Facebook page at the time. And even then, I had no interest in doing wedding photography. But the demand, like, people were messaging me like, oh, these photos are amazing. Do you want to photograph my wedding? And at first, I was a bit reluctant to do it because I was like, maybe I got lucky on my first wedding. I don't know, you know, like, but yeah, then the more I thought about it, I was like, I actually really enjoyed the whole process of the wedding photography because, you know, there's a lot of moments that unfold and you don't really know what's going to happen on the day, and that kind of excited me. So then I was like, okay, why not? And at that time, obviously, I wasn't charging a lot of money, so I was like, and there weren't really high budget weddings that I kind of photograph now. But yeah, I just literally led on from there, and then I started posting more stuff, and after every wedding you kind of learn, right? And it just evolved from there.
So I mean, I know a few photographers personally, and a lot of their journeys have started by going on events and doing bookings with other people. Did you ever do that yourself, or did you kind of was it all just sort of self-taught?
It's all self-taught. So for me, like, I want to create images that kind of reflect me as a person. And at the beginning, obviously, you see stuff online, like social media was a big thing back then, and you kind of try out different things over time. And then it got to a point where I was doing like really nice weddings and producing really nice work for the couples, but for me, the photographs wasn't really feeding my soul. Like, as in, I wasn't kind of resonating with the photographs. So then I took a step back and thought, okay, this is amazing. I'm getting paid well. You know, I'm doing amazing weddings, but I wanted to do something that kind of satisfy me myself as well. And that's when then I took a step back and thought, you know, what are my interests and what things do I like? And then, you know, that kind of over time I've changed my whole outlook on wedding photography and tried to resonate with myself and create images that kind of reflect me as a person. And I think that was a big turning point for me because you know, for anyone that starts any kind of journey, like you practice things, you try out different things, and then it comes to a point where it's like, it's not, okay, it's amazing, but it's not really satisfying me as a person. And then then I took a big shift in my photography and kind of, not in a selfish way, but I started shooting for myself a little bit and shooting stuff that I kind of like. And I think that from there it really did propel me.
So you talked about propelling and like changing your direction. Is that when you started to do more of luxury weddings? Was that always a plan, or did you just kind of end up in the luxury wedding kind of area?
So in terms of luxury weddings, I didn't really like, that wasn't my goal when I at that stage of my life. You know, I was doing some amazing weddings, but when I started networking and started talking to a lot of people in the industry, I think that did help and open more doors for me to kind of get into the luxury market. I mean, the luxury market in itself, like, what defines a luxury wedding? For me personally, like, the obvious answer is like a budget at a wedding and how much people spend at a wedding. You know, you can work at a really exclusive venue, or, you know, do a buyout of a venue, and that can you know, define a luxury market. But for me personally, it's a lot more in depth than that, and it goes beyond that. So I'm a creative, and I like to work with couples that are very different and want something very different at their wedding. And, you know, for me, the luxury weddings are the ones where there's a lot more creativity from the couple's perspective on the wedding. There's more of a their personality kind of shines through at the wedding. And so, for me, a luxury wedding is basically where the couple have thought about a lot more stuff. Like, there's so much stuff online, people see stuff and they're like, you know, I want that kind of wedding, and it's just like, it's very much a template that everyone's kind of following. But I want to work with couples that are very different in their thought process and want to be creative, and, you know, that is what I kind of classify as a lot more attention to detail, a lot more personalized. And the other aspect of it is, you know, having harmony on a wedding day. So, you know, like a couple you can have an amazing wedding, have an amazing venue, but there's no harmony. Like everything's just a chaos. Like, you know, just everything's running behind. You can see the couple are stressed. They're not really enjoying their wedding day. And that's where like wedding planners and coordinators really has a massive impact on a wedding, because they can really dictate the whole day and make sure things run on time and the couple can actually enjoy it. So having a wedding planner, you know, that does help having a more luxury wedding.
I was going to say, do you find it stressful when you do some weddings without them? Because it's easy then for the photo time to be reduced, because it's like we're running really late, we only got half the time for photos now, or we've got to rush and do it in between and things like that, and it's almost you and the couple having to make that decision rather than like the planner or coordinator being able to manage it all. I
mean, it really, when I started working with wedding planners, it really shifted my whole dynamics on a wedding, because the value they add on the wedding day, you can't put money on it. Everyone gets to enjoy the wedding, especially the couple, they get to enjoy the wedding a lot more. So working with wedding planners, like, you know, there's a lot more harmony, there's less chaos in the day, like the couples get to enjoy the day. They haven't allocated someone shouting at the guests, you know, to create, you know, make sure that the day goes a lot more seamless. There's just so much less chaos on the wedding day itself. So
it's nice to hear that as well, because I feel like it's very easy for us to always just say, obviously the couple will benefit from having a planner, and of course they do, but also the other suppliers. It means they can just all do their job properly, rather than you having to try and coordinate group photos, read out names, get your lens ready. Like it's just putting a lot more stress on everyone that's involved in the day. So you heard it here, guys, get a planner. Okay, great. And so with the couples, I know obviously as time's gone on, you'd say you've kind of refined, like you said, the kind of couples that you want to work with, ones that show personality, show, I guess, different parts of their weddings. Is that something you discuss in a consult and then you decide if they're the right fit for you? So we have a consultation with every couple and kind of speak about, like, obviously they're kind of interviewing me to see if I'm their fit for them, but I'm obviously in the background trying to work out these are the couples that I want to work with. The market is very saturated. There's a lot of photographers in the industry, and for me, I go to every wedding and I want to create something very different to what I've done before. I don't want to really create work that I've already done previously, and having a couple that kind of are on that same kind of wavelength, it does help a lot as well. So it's important for me that I'm working with the right clients, and you know, I do a limited amount of weddings a year, so I'm not out every week churning out weddings. Like that's not the way that I operate. You know, if you're churning out weddings every week, I mean, it works for some people, but for me, as a creative, I think you have a massive burnout, and you know, I want to look forward to every wedding that I go to, and I want to bring 110% at every wedding. And the way that I do that personally is by limiting the amount of weddings I do. And it's not even just on the wedding day itself, it's even after the wedding. Like delivering quickly after wedding, especially in this social media era where everything's pretty much instant. I think that's very important as well. Like I hear a lot of horror stories where couples have waited like even 2-3 years and they still haven't had their wedding photos or videos, and I think that's a massive, like, big thing no for me. Because it ruins your experience. You're just waiting and waiting, and then it gets to like a year and you're like, you're getting to the point now where you're like, you're not even not bothered, but you're like, it's been so long that it's now just becoming annoying that I have to chase, rather than like, oh my god, I can't wait to look through these moments and stuff. And exactly as you said, I think people forget that, like, for photographers and videographers, your work kind of starts as soon as the wedding is done, in terms of like, obviously you shoot the days, but then all the editing, sorting through, like all of that and delivering that, you've still got a lot of work to do post wedding, and that takes time, rather than like, I guess maybe like us, we finish kind of on the wedding days and then we're done.
Don't contact us again.
Archived.
Can I just interrupt? So you mentioned earlier that you're pretty selective with your couples because you don't want to have creative burnout. How do you actually filter out the couples that you think that you can work really well with and the ones that are red flags?
I think that comes from the actual consultation from itself. Like when I speak to someone, I'm a very good gauge of their personalities, and I want to work with couples that I kind of vibe with. So when you speak to someone naturally, you know when you're vibing with someone, and it kind of stems from there. I mean, on the wedding day itself, like I think the photo and video team on the wedding day spend the most time with a couple throughout the whole wedding day. The last thing I want with a couple is to have any kind of awkwardness or, you know, when they think, oh no, here's the photo video team, and, you know, it's an experience and a once in a lifetime experience for themselves as well. So I want them to enjoy it. So, and, you know, touched on it earlier, like I'm a very positive person when it comes to a wedding. And you know, a wedding's an emotional roller coaster, right? It's a complete, like, one moment the bride might be crying and the next minute there's a party going on, so it's on a completely different scale. But you know, I become friends with a lot of my couples after the wedding as well, so just being able to vibe with a couple, I think that's very important for me.
So what do you do if you're kind of working out that you're not really going to be a good fit? Is there like a...
I think you have to be honest with someone,
really?
Because you know, when someone's investing a lot of money in a product or in a service, like, I wouldn't feel right taking that money off someone if I don't think I can fulfill their needs or what they want. So I think you just need to be honest and upfront about it.
Okay, fair enough. I thought you might just say, "Oh, sorry, I'm booked."
I
lied earlier when I said I was free. I'm actually booked.
Maybe that's the way I might approach it, but but just being upfront about it rather than trying to lead someone on and then, you know, trying to maybe thinking that you might be able to fit this what they need later on and trying to adapt yourself. I find that's probably not the right way to do it.
I think also because you've done it for a good amount of time now, you understand your gut really well, and also you can say no, whereas at the beginning of any business it's very easy to, like, even if you see a few red flags, you're like, oh, but it'd be a great experience, or it's a new venue, or it's a new this, or whatever, and it's easy to ignore that. And then on the day, like you said, you can end up either feeling really awkward, not having a good vibe, or not, like you said, producing images that align with yourself and what you want it to. And so I think where, I guess, you know your style, you know how you work, and you know everything really well now, it just means that you can say no and it's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there'll be a different photographer out there for them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many weddings that happen every year, but I think as a business, we need to detach ourselves. I know obviously you want to make a living from it, but you need to detach yourself from the money element of it and think on what is best for a couple. Like, for me, like, the couples, their experience and what they want from their wedding, that's the most important thing for me. I always shoot for the couple first, more than anything. Like, obviously I get a lot of recognition online and from, like, magazines and stuff. I get published a lot, but I don't go into a wedding thinking, oh, I want to get published in this magazine, or I want to be published on this blog. Like, my main priority is to make sure that I'm creating images that the couple are going to be proud of in, you know, 10, 20 years down the line. And once you focus on that, and then everything else kind of just follows on from that.
It goes back to just having the right intentions, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that makes complete sense. I was going to say, talking about, I guess, lessons learned and how things have changed over the years, without going into specific details, but what's been the biggest challenge that you faced at a wedding that you've done, either with the couple or with the general wedding, like, that you can think of?
So when I first started into destination weddings, like, it was amazing. You get to go abroad and travel and, you know, see all these amazing locations. But I still remember the first destination wedding that I did was in Sorrento, and Italy at that time were having a freak heat wave. And obviously we photograph weddings in the UK where it's pretty much cloudy and overcast 90% of the time, and it's not too hot. But I think the temperature at that time was like in the mid 30s, maybe hitting 40. It was really hot. And, you know, you go as planned, prepared as you can to a wedding. But I still remember this moment. So it was an outdoor ceremony, and the bride was about to make her, reveal and make her entrance. And I took out my camera to take a photo, and I got an error message on the back of my camera to say that the camera needs to shut down because it's overheated. So I'm like, whoa, this is like the worst time, you know, the bride's about to make her reveal and her entrance, such a big moment at a wedding. But luckily at that time I had a backup camera on me, so I was able to still capture the photos. But, you know, that was a real big moment for me where I was like, you can't take anything for chance. Like, these moments happen in a split second, and you only have one opportunity to capture them. So having a backup of everything, and, you know, making sure that, you know, the equipment is up to speed with everything, and adding extra precautions on top of that as well to make sure, you know, these things don't happen. And this all comes from experience. So you know, there's a lot of photographers who are quite new, and, you know, everyone needs to start from somewhere, but the experience that we've had over time at weddings, you know, there's no value on that. And you know, on a wedding day itself, there's so many variables and so many things can happen and go wrong, but it's you call back on your experience to you know, find solutions to them, and you have to act quickly because these things happen so quickly. You can't panic. The moment you panic, then it's game over. So
I've never seen you panicked or stressed, but that, when you was giving that example about the heat error, I had a flashback to, we did a wedding in Bodrum, and they were going to do this, like, you know, like the colour display behind the mandap, and then, but the priest wasn't following when we said to do it, so we were kind of like umming and ahhing, and we were in charge of queuing the video team because they were at the back. They wanted to get drone shots, so we were all like, okay, things going to be any second. So they're starting to get the drone up. Then the priest hasn't done it yet, so we're like, maybe it's not happening right now, but just keep it up there. And the drone battery dies, and it just comes back down. And I'm like, it's gonna happen in the next week. All of us, like literally, like, I've never seen them run so fast for the drone. I was trying to radio over to Sanira to get them to stall honestly, and I was just thinking, these are literally like things that happen in about 3 seconds, and if you miss it, you miss it. Like, so it is a lot of pressure for photo and video, like getting these moments and getting it, you know, good. So, and actually thinking about the heat element when we were in Bahrain, I remember because of the whole heat situation, the video teams asked us to get like cold compresses for the cameras to like cover them, to keep them cool, and I didn't even think about that.
That obviously comes from experience in you know, previous weddings. You see hurdles and think about ways that you don't want to hit those hurdles again. But I think this is very important, because what you've spoken about there is basically how teams on a wedding day come together, and like decor companies or you know, wedding planners might look at a location and think, oh wow, this place looks amazing for a ceremony, but then as a photographer I would go there and think, oh my gosh, this sun is right in the front, it's going to be so uncomfortable for the couple, and you know, the photo, everyone's going to be squinting in the pictures, and that's why it's very important. Like when we work together, like there's a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes, and I really appreciate that bit. And you know, you value our opinion. We have like walkthroughs on the wedding days itself before the actual wedding days, and we can kind of talk through, and it's very adaptable in that nothing's firmly in place. We can change things if we need to, and it's about giving the best so that the couples can have the best day. No,
absolutely. I mean, touching on destination weddings, I was going to say, like, what are things that you like that kind of challenge you, or that you kind of struggle with sometimes? So obviously heat is one of them, but the direction of the sun, as you mentioned. So if you're planning an outdoor ceremony, exactly as you said, so if couples are planning it, what do you think they should take into consideration in terms of that? So like the sun behind, sun in front, to the side?
So I would always recommend the sun behind, but so that, you know, you don't have glaring sun in your face, and it's not you're not overpowered by the heat. Having a mandap, if it's an outdoor ceremony, having a mandap with a canopy on top to create shelter if you need it. But the biggest thing I would recommend is to maybe doing like an evening kind of ceremony rather than a daytime ceremony. I just find it's a lot more comfortable for the guest and everyone as well, and everyone gets to enjoy the actual ceremony itself. I find having a ceremony during the peak day, it's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for the suppliers, it's not fun for the guests, even the couple. Like you know, the brides wearing such amazing outfits, really heavy outfits, and you know, you can feel that they're uncomfortable. But if that's what is presented, then we have to make the best of it. But ideally, you'll try and do a ceremony at a time where it's a bit more cooler.
No, that makes complete sense.
Speaking of destination wedding, where is your favourite destination to photograph?
I get asked this question a lot, and first thing that comes to mind is Dubai. I did a wedding at the Armani Hotel, which is literally at the bottom of the Burj Khalifa. And aesthetically, it's amazing, and it's luxury, and it's like it's amazing. But for me personally, like, it's the people that make a wedding. And I still remember we did a wedding in Marrakesh in Morocco, and the family came in from America, the couple from America, but the actual families and the way that they were treated, they treated us like higher than family. Like, it's the experience of and what the people that make a wedding. So you can have an amazing location, but for me, it's the people that make a wedding. So
I love that.
So true though. We say it all the time. Sometimes we do amazing, like, high budget weddings, but if the crowd isn't there, and if they're not bringing the energy and the love for the couple, then no matter how much you've spent, you're not going to have
it's the people that make a wedding. 100%.
No, absolutely. I was going to ask something slightly off topic, but like, do you have shy couples?
And
then what do they say? Because I'm assuming, obviously, being like a luxury wedding photographer, people would assume they need to be really comfortable with posing or really flexible with posing. So how do you approach shy couples?
So my work is very much, I want to create images that kind of reflect the personalities of the couple. You know, I get to work with models, I get to work with couples that are not so comfortable in front of the camera, so you get a whole variety of people. And for me, I don't have an out-of-box solution that works that I kind of bring to every wedding, and it's like a template every wedding. Like that's not the way that I work. I will try, like, the main thing for me is if I can get the couple to be very comfortable in front of the camera and be themselves, naturally we'll have a lot of fun and we'll create amazing images together. So even for shy couples, like, I don't just pose couples. Like, for some couples I will pose a lot and do a lot more editorial kind of work with them, but that's not my 100% of the way that I work. Like, if a couple is a bit more shy, then I will kind of work with them, and it's just about making them feel comfortable in front of the camera and photographing them sometimes not knowing that they're being photographed. So it's just have fun with the couple. I think that's the biggest thing. So even with the shy couple, by the end of it, they'll be like experts in front of the camera. Like they have such an amazing time. But it's the most important thing is to make them feel comfortable in front of the camera.
Do you recommend that they do a pre-shoot so that they have that familiarity with you, with the camera, and just that whole experience? Because for some people it's the first time they're in front of a professional camera.
Yeah. Naturally, if I put a camera in front of anyone's face that's never been photographed before, it's going to be a little bit tense and awkward. So a pre-wedding shoot is a great icebreaker. If a couple can do that, then I would definitely recommend it. It is a chance for them to kind of see the way that I work, and then on the wedding day itself there's no kind of surprise or anything. They can kind of hit the ball rolling knowing that we've already had one session together. So I do recommend pre-wedding shoots. And also on a pre-wedding shoot there's no stress of time, so there's no constraints with that, whereas on a wedding day you'll only have like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes to do a portrait session. So you just get a bit more time to be a bit more creative and try out a lot more things.
Speaking of working with the couple, the other people I guess who you have to work quite hand in hand with, not only is the planner but also videographers. How do you find working with videographers? Would you go approach a couple, or when the couple approach you, would you suggest videographers that you feel comfortable working with?
I try. If the couple ask me, I will recommend a few videographers that I work with regularly. But I do a lot of weddings around the world where I'm working with wedding planners and couples that I've never met before. So it's the first time I'm working with them, and a lot of them choose local videographers because videographers generally have quite a big team. So a lot of destination weddings quite far, they have local people. But I think the key thing with working with videographers is communication. Like I respect that they need to get their job done as well, and I need to get my stuff done as well. So just working together and creating harmony and making sure that everyone's getting the work done that they need to. It's not about a competition where I want to make sure I get more time than they do. Like I'm very respectful of them to make sure that they get their stuff that they need as well.
No, that's really nice to hear. I guess the other thing that I wanted to touch on, and you might not have an opinion about it, is with content creators becoming a lot more prominent or commonplace in weddings, do you find that makes things more difficult for you, or are you quite happy to just work with whoever's there and just adapt?
I generally work with everyone. So in terms of content creator, I think there's a time and a place for everyone. So I do think content creators add a lot of value on the wedding day itself, because they're constantly filming, right? They're constantly filming the guest, and I will capture the moments of the couple and the ceremony. But the content creators, their turnaround first of all is very quick as well, so they get their stuff back to the couple very quickly. But I do think they add value, and I work with a lot of content creators, and the only problem I find with content creators is that the entry level is very low. Everyone's got a phone on them all the time, so anyone can turn up at a wedding and call themselves a content creator. But there are a few out there that are really established in what they do, and if someone was going to look at a content creator, I would kind of recommend the more established companies, because they kind of have worked a lot on the more high-end kind of luxury weddings, and they kind of a lot more accommodating, and they're a lot more respectful of what needs to be done. Whereas people that are a bit more unfamiliar and new, they might get in the way. Like I'm trying to take photographs for the couple that are going to look in their best light, and being wary of where the other teams are, the video team. When we work together, we make sure we're not in each other's frames, right? And having a content creator that's not in the frames as well, and knowing what's going on, I think that's very important.
I mean, speaking about time and how long would you say couples should factor in for their couple shoot, like post ceremony or for their reception? You're actually really quick. I think people assume the more luxury you are, you're going to be spending 2 hours taking photos, but you are quick, but your shots are epic, which is the best combination, and that's what you pay for as well, right? Because you don't want to spend 2 hours on your wedding day. I mean, I know it's rich coming from me, and I love having photos taken, but even for me, you don't want to spend 2 hours of your wedding day having photos taken and missing all that time with your guests.
Yeah, I mean, wedding day is ultimately an event for a couple, so the less time I can take them away from the guest, the better it is for them. I want them to enjoy their wedding day as much as possible. Generally, the more time I get, the more creative I can be, but I think destinations has really taught me that, time is very valuable on a wedding. So there's been weddings where I've had literally 5 minutes to do a couple session.
Wow.
And I've literally done it. I do work generally quite quick on a wedding day. And that comes from experience and skills. Like, if technically I've got no problem, so I'm just concentrating on the content. But yeah, I mean, generally I would ask for about 45 minutes. If I can get that, then I can know that I can get the standard stuff that I need and be a lot more creative and get more content for them. I mean, the more time we have with a couple, the more content we will get. But yeah, destinations, like, time just evaporates so quickly. Everyone's like on holiday basically. So everyone's so chilled and relaxed on a destination wedding. And trying to get everyone together, like, it does take that's why a wedding planner is so important, especially like on a destination wedding, just to make sure everyone's running on time. But generally, Asian weddings don't tend to run on time. So for me, like, you need to be able to kind of work with whatever time's given to you. And yeah, like I said, I'm not shooting for myself, I'm shooting for the couple. So if the couple want to spend more time with the family, I've got absolutely no problems with that.
You're quite flexible.
I'm very flexible with it.
That's good. To be fair, we give about an hour anyway, so that we have buffer time in case you need to move locations. People forget that as well. Like, you're moving from place to place. That takes time. Sometimes you guys need to set up your lights and other things, so that takes time. Sometimes the bride needs to do a quick touch up. Like, all these things can take away from, like, photo taking time. So if you can have 45 minutes to an hour, that gives you a good amount of time.
Also, when you go in between locations, there's guests and everyone's hugging each other, and that takes up the most time.
The amount of times at weddings I'll grab the bride's hand and I'm like, eyes down, just follow me. Because not to be rude, but otherwise you spend half the time just saying hi to people. I was going to ask, how often do you work with a second shooter, do you think? Because you actually generally, when I've seen you, are normally by yourself, and you manage to get everything. So when do you have a second shooter? Do you think it's important?
I have now started working a lot more with second shooters. The problem with me is I didn't want to have a second shooter that's going to shoot the same stuff that I'm going to shoot, because I don't see any value in that. For me, I need a second shooter that's going to mainly focus on the extended guests, so then I can just concentrate, like, on the immediate family and the couple, and then I don't need to worry about these extra guests. So I have started incorporating a lot more second shooters into my work, but I'm very selective in the second shooters that I use, because I need to make sure that they're going to capture what I need, so I can fully trust them to capture that, and then I don't need to worry about it.
So how does that work, sorry, with the second shooter? So from my knowledge, a lot of these second shooters, they themselves have their own photo companies, or they themselves do their own independent weddings. But when they're working with you, do you then say, look, you need to use X camera, or you need to use this type of, I know nothing about cameras, like this type of lens, or what have you, or is it more in terms of the editing afterwards? Like, you just, I've chosen you because I like your style as it is, so actually we'll just...
So what I'm looking for in a second shooter, I don't need them to capture the actual wedding day itself. So in terms of, like, camera and lenses, that doesn't matter as much. I will advise them on the kind of lenses that I want them to use, so that aesthetically it will kind of reflect the work that I'm doing. But, my main focus for the second shooter, like, they don't need to photograph weddings. I just need someone who's a good people's person that can kind of capture people, because they're mainly focusing on, like, capturing as many family pictures of the guests as possible. The people that I work with now that are my second shooters, they're not, I mean, they do weddings themselves, but when they work with me, I say to them, like, you don't need to capture anything of the wedding, I just want you to focus on the guests, get as many pictures of the guests as possible, and that's all I need to focus on. Obviously there are times where during a ceremony I will get them to help me, where if I think they can add value, then I will get them to help me with that, but generally it's just focusing on the guests, really. But so in terms of, like, the equipment, it doesn't really matter as much.
Interesting.
I kind of edit everything to kind of look in line with the work that I'm presenting.
And speaking of editing, how much has AI impacted the way that you edit photos, or has it? Because I know that some photographers are very kind of passionate about maintaining their craft and the way that things were traditionally done. But I guess with the advent of technology and now AI, are you losing out, or are you missing out if you're not using it?
I think AI can, I mean, there's a lot of value in AI, and I have tried out a lot like editing with AI tools, but for me, I'm very much a perfectionist and I want to have full control over everything. AI is obviously making decisions on your behalf, and the end product that I've got from AI tools, I mean, they are evolving over time. It hasn't quite been to the standard that I would want to present to my couple. So at the moment, I take full control of all my editing, and I actually enjoy that whole process of, like, reliving the wedding, going through the wedding, and seeing all the moments unfold. I really enjoy that.
How long does it take you to edit like let's say like a destination wedding album?
So my delivery is very quick after a wedding. Generally, I try to capture as much right inside the camera as possible, so my editing is very minimal. I would say, like, I would go through the whole gallery. I'll colour out all the images where, like, the bride's, like, the couple's eyes are shut, or there's like, you know, people.
And you manually have to do that.
I manually go through every picture to see that, and then from there I'll do the editing. But I think generally it would take me 3 days, 2-3 days to edit a full wedding gallery.
Really?
Yeah, it's very. My whole workflow is very quick.
Yeah,
and that's come over time, but that's why I can deliver very quickly after a wedding.
That's so useful. That's so handy for couples who, especially as we mentioned earlier, people who are waiting 6 months, a year for.
Yeah, 100%.
That's so nice. That's so good. I've got a couple of other like random questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about if couples give you like a photo mood board or like a shot list of like just kind of just things that are important to them on the day that they want you to make sure you capture?
Yeah.
Or is that when you say, "Oh, I'm actually
Is that
busy
the red
that
flag?
day"?
Oh no!
Actually, let me think of it. I'm actually booked this day. No. So I generally create a mood board for every wedding that I go to. So I want to kind of look at the color palettes and the venue and stuff, because a lot of these venues I've never worked on before. So I do a lot of research beforehand.
Love
so I
that.
do create a mood board for every wedding that I go to, and I do honestly. I ask the couple or the bride especially. They're the most involved at this stage, but I do ask them. You know, if there's anything that you're seeing online or anything that you like, do send it to me.
Oh, I love that.
So I do incorporate it, but for me, I don't want to replicate that work. I don't want to copy it.
It's just
I want to
inspo.
put my own spin on everything that I do.
Yeah.
But I do ask. Some couples are like, we fully trust your work. We've seen it online, and we love what you do, and they put full trust in me.
Yeah.
And they won't say anything, and they just let me do whatever I need to do. But other couples, the bride will have. Everyone has their own Pinterest board, and their own kind of photos that they've saved on their phone, and we just create a WhatsApp group, and they'll share as much of that content with me. And I always say to them, anything you see that you like, just send it. There's nothing that you shouldn't be sending to me.
That's really refreshing to hear, because I feel like some photographers maybe don't like it because they're like, this is my style and I'll just do what I think is best, which ultimately, yes, you have full creative control. But if the bride has a few ideas in her mind of things that she's seen, I personally don't think, I mean, I'm being biased because I made like a 10-page mood board for my wedding, but it was just like, for me, it wasn't like you have to take these exact photos. It was just like, these are the cute kind of family photos I want, these are the cute bridesmaid photos, I want the Vogue style bridesmaid groomsmen shots and stuff, and these are the kind of couple shots I want. So it wasn't like trying to be undermining. It was just kind of like, this is what I like as inspo.
100%.
So it's really good to know that you kind of make your own mood board and you like to see their style.
I actually encourage it. So the brides that kind of know what they want and a lot more creative, those are the kind of brides that I like to work with, because for me, I want to be different and create something different at every wedding that I go to.
Yeah.
And if the bride is inputting into that and bringing her ideas, like, obviously it's going to open my mind a little bit more as well. So I'm all for it, and I do encourage it a lot.
So what you're saying is you would have loved to receive my
10-page photo Why did you not contact me
the
for
whole
your
time
wedding?
Nick was like, why are you making this? And I was like, no, trust me. Okay, that's good to know.
You sound like my ideal bride.
Yeah.
My template bride.
Next wedding you can do that.
Yeah. I'll vow in you.
100%. We'll start planning that now then.
Got 7 more years to go. Okay, amazing. I'd love to just mention trends. What photography trends did you see a lot of in 2025, and what kind of things do you kind of envision being trendy in 2026?
Or do you even care about trends? Like, do you think people are just jumping on trends that is actually not going to be something they're going to be happy with in 10 years' time?
Yeah. So trends for me is a very tricky subject. Basically, I try to stay away from trends as much as possible. For me, I want to create timeless images that are going to stand the test of time. And I think the moment you jump on a trend, you're kind of time stamping those images. And some trends are good and they're kind of a little bit more timeless, but if you look at like Vogue magazine, Harper's Bazaar magazine, for the last 50 years, the aesthetics of the images are very similar and they haven't changed. And a lot of photographers I've seen have kind of jumped onto these trends, and the images look great now, but 10, 20 years down the line, they're going to look very dated. So for me, I want to stay away from trends as much as possible if I can.
Can you give me an example of like the type of trend that you think isn't going to stand the test of time, just for my own knowledge, because I'm like I said, no photography expert.
So I mean, like dark grungy photos like that, that's had a trend and a lot of people jump onto that, but obviously that's kind of phased out already now. And this, at the moment, the whole editorial kind of trend is very big at the moment, and Yeah, I mean, it looks great, and you're posing everything when it comes to editorial work. That's from a portrait session, but I want to create editorial work, but still reflect the couple's personalities. So it's a bit more naturally directed editorial work that I do. So I might direct and give prompts to a couple rather than pose them to one specific way. So then, because then otherwise every couple that you photograph is going to look the same, just a different couple, different location. And I don't want that. I want the couple's personality to kind of reflect in their pictures.
And also the special moments, because I think like there are some couples who are really suited to the editorial style poses, and very like model style, like serious faces, which look amazing. But then you also want those same couples to have pictures where they're actually genuinely laughing with each other, or they're chatting to each other in the middle of a crowd, and you've captured that. So I think it's really important to find a photographer who can do both, and I think you're great at doing that, like getting the fire model style pictures but getting the really cute candid moments that no one else has really seen, but you've seen them in the corner of the room and you've got that shot.
100%. I think it's very important to do both. I mean, I see a lot of my work, people try to copy it or replicate it, and what I've done with one couple would only work with that couple because I've kind of gauge what kind of personalities they are. That pose, if I do it on a shy couple, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all, and it's going to look awkward. And you can see that in a lot of people's work. So for me, it's very much like what we touched on it earlier. It's about gauging the couple's personalities and making sure you kind of tailor what your portrait session is based on what they like and how they are as a couple. So I mean, that comes from the beginning. It's from the consultation stage, and if you do a pre-wedding shoot, you can kind of gauge what the couple are like. But throughout the whole wedding, like I'm observing the couple, how they are, how they're interacting, and all of these elements play into how kind of I do the portrait session with them. So the couple might not know it, but I am literally watching every moment of how they are, how they're interacting, and that will dictate how I approach the couple shoot.
This is actually fascinating, genuinely. Like for somebody who picked I didn't even pick, I think she picked up photography and videography, but the typical couple will kind of look on Instagram. From experience, they'll look on Instagram and they'll say, I like that, that's within budget, okay, let's narrow it down to these 5, and then we'll just kind of see who's available. And often, because you're so far away from your wedding date when you're picking your photographer, you don't really know that much about photography, in my opinion. But as the journey's progressing, say you go on a pre-shoot, you start looking at your outfits, that's when you start thinking a bit more. And actually, I think people would be so lucky to have you, because they may just pick you because you're super popular. But actually, the fact that you're putting in so much time, effort, and care into even just the way that you talk about it, it's amazing. Like genuinely, it's like you can feel it. You can feel how passionate you are
I've never looked at it like that, but I do appreciate that. I've never thought of it that. But I mean, it does make sense.
How do you? I know we're used to wrapping up things, but there's so much to ask about photography. How do you deal with the grooms who hate photos? Like how do you inspire them? How do you motivate them? How do you make them get these fire shots? Because a lot of the time, and obviously I make a joke about Nim, but actually Nim was pretty good because he knows I like photos, so he kind of just dealt with it. But a lot of grooms, they get really bored. I can tell after 5 minutes they're just done. They wanted to get back and have a drink with their friends. They have loads of FOMO. How do you keep them focused and keep them going? Or do you not really have grooms?
No, 80% of my grooms are like that. I mean, you've directed it to Nim, but I would say pretty much 80% of the grooms are like this. And I think what it is, when it comes to that situation, you need to distract the groom as much as possible and just have a good time with them. So we might talk about football, or we might talk about just have a bit of a vibe with them and have a bit of fun with them. And once you've distracted them and gained their trust, then I think after that you just play around a little bit, and you'll be surprised by the end of that session they're going to be like, when's our next photo shoot? I get it so many times. Like before they're like, I really don't want to do it, and then by the end of it, like they're like standing in front and posing, and like you see a massive difference in them. But it's just about gaining their trust. I think it's really hard to gain a groom's trust, but once you get that, then they're happy to do whatever you want them to do.
Also, if you've got good planners, i.e. us, they will bring the groom food and drinks to their photo shoot.
Very important.
To just keep them fed and watered. Because that makes a difference. If they see a cocktail and a kebab, they're like, okay, I can get through this for another
cocktail and a kebab. That's like the end of the night.
They can be like, cool, I can get through this for another half an hour. So I think that's also really important. But okay, amazing. Well, I feel like we should wrap this up. We wanted to ask you one last question. We do a little closing tradition that we started as of last week.
Okay.
Okay, what's the one thing that you wish every couple knew before their wedding day?
So with social media now, I think a lot of people are posting stuff online, which is amazing. But I think that's a very small snapshot of someone's work. So what I would encourage every couple to do, whether they choose anyone, it could be with any suppliers, is to really do a lot of kind of research and ask a lot of questions that you might think are very obvious, but just ask them. And especially when it comes to wedding photography, like I send my couples like full galleries. Like, I'm not ashamed. I want to send them as much photos as possible so they can kind of see what to expect from a wedding day. You know, it's very easy for someone to take one or two nice images and put them on social media or on their website, but it might not be a true reflection of their work. So yeah, I would always ask, you know, to see full galleries of anything, and so you can see what to exactly expect on a wedding day. And for me, I always do that. As soon as someone inquires with me, I send them like 10 galleries. I overload them with loads of galleries, just so they can see consistency throughout the whole gallery. It's not like one or two nice images that I've posted and the rest of the gallery is like really bad. So yeah, just do as much research as possible and speak to people. And you know, wedding day is obviously an event, but it's an experience for a couple as well, and I think that's very important, and the suppliers play a massive role in that. So just get, you know, people that you vibe with, and you know, ask for recommendations. Like suppliers will always recommend people that they're kind of like good people and good to work with. So and take that advice with as a lot of value, and it's just find people that you kind of resonate with. I think that's very important.
So important. And I'm so glad you said about you sending 10 galleries, because I always say to couples, always ask for a full gallery. And like ideally some sort of full wedding video, because the pose photos are great, but actually what you want to see is that they capture like your grandma like having a little emotional moment, or like crying in the corner, or like, I don't know, like your friend's reaction, or your little niece or nephew dancing on the dance floor. You want all these moments to be captured. That's all his second shoot is taking.
That's what value they're adding right now, but you know, it's very important.
But you want to see how the whole day unfolds, and you want to see how they tell the story of your day. Like, does it accurately represent it? And I think that's why you can't just look at Instagram. You have to look at a whole album.
I mean, the portrait session makes up maybe 5-10% of a wedding gallery, and although I post a lot of that online and that's what people know me for, my documentary and those, like, a lot of people capture the main parts of a ceremony, but I like to capture those little moments in between the moments where the couple might look at each other, there might be a touch of hands. Like, those are the moments that a lot of people miss. And that's why I shoot a lot on a wedding day. Couples get a lot of photos from me on a wedding day, and it's because I'm constantly shooting. There's never a moment that you want to miss, so never put your camera down, just keep photographing. Honestly,
and have lots of spare batteries and cameras
and memory cards as well. So yes, definitely.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
For joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Really good chat. And you can just see how much you love what you do, and that is priceless to have someone who loves what they do at their wedding day.
I appreciate that.
So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Please like, follow, subscribe for more.